This is my paper. Title is a study on the quality of employment focused on ICT industry. However, the first author composed the majority of data and analysis. On behalf of the first author, I would like to make a presentation. Contents from introduction to implications. The first section is introduction. The ICT industry generates a huge demand for human resources in the process of the fourth industrial revolution. However, the mismatching of labor supply and demand might be clear. And the vicious circle of employment structure due to job mismatching among job seekers and the entrepreneurs is highly likely to lead to weakening industrial or national competitiveness. In Korea, the ICT service industry has grown into an infrastructure industry. This contributed to the quantitative growth of employment in the industrial growth period, but as a result, the quality of the labor has been deteriorated by inducing the low-skilled workers to enter the labor market. Unlike the ICT manufacturing industry, the competitiveness of the ICT service industry is derived from the workforce. Whether the problem of employment environment of ICT industry, such as job mismatching, or originated from employment quality rather than job shortage. In this study, the qualitative indicators of ICT industry are analyzed comparatively with other industries and employments. Next is a literature review. There are several previous researches. The first is Korea Labor Institute conducted a case study on the environment of the retail and the retail business in relation to the quality of the employment. The indicators for the analysis of job quality are as follows: working time type and job skill formation. Next paper near research, Korean National Assembly Office examined the work situation of ICT workers through group interviews in order to initiate a system to improve the quality of employment of ICT workers. ICT workers are more likely to quit than other industrial workers because of the high percentage of hours. In addition, next paper analyzed that the declining trend of ICT-related measures is due to the widespread perception of job factors. This is because the industrial structure is not developed as a high-level professional manpower. Next paper defined the Korean software industry as a system integration industry rather than technology development, and defined the industry as a labor-intensive computing service. It criticized the monopoly structure of the large corporation and the industry characterized by internal transactions. We know any conglomerate groups now using often internal transactions. The working time of the fifth subcontracted vendor is over 67 hours more than the first vendor in the subcontracting process and 15 hours longer than that of the big companies. Let's see other parts. Third section is this paper's research methodology and data collection. In order to quantitatively analyze qualitative indicators such as employment status and longevity, employment statistics were used. We gathered from employment insurance. This is the administrative statistics for 2.2 million businesses and over 13 million insured. Employment insurance has the advantage of being able to grasp the employment structure in the current system. And the ICT industry is divided into ICT manufacturing and ICT service industry, and the remaining industries are classified into non-ICT manufacturing, non-ICT service industry, and other industries. In the later part, we will mention about the main four parts of the ICT industry. In order to estimate the trend of the ICT industry and the related manpower, we use the actual condition of ICT manpower trend provided by Ministry of Science, Technology and Information. Next is results. You know about labor polarization, in Korean 양극화. So in English, labor polarization. The definition is the phenomenon that the income and the working conditions of the workers are shifted to the upper and the lower extremes, along with the reduction of the middle class. In this section, we compare this polarization trend of labor market conditions for each industry group and the size. Size means we analyzed the number of employees and we grouped several the number of employees and compare the quantitative and qualitative indicators of employment. The first is comparative analysis of labor polarization by industry. Table 1 compares the average wage and the average working time published in the workforce survey of the enterprises by defining the magnification of the highest percentile value. Okay, this is table 1. We can compare between 2 years, 2013 and 2017. The index number, the first is total. 6 years ago, the index is 212. However, 2 years ago, 216. The value is increased. This means more polarization. So the ICT service and non-ICT manufacturing, the values are increased. So that we can analyze polarization is more severe. However, ICT service, ICT manufacturing and the non-ICT service, the values are reduced. So these two sectors, polarization is weakened. So we presented the detailed analysis of table 1. The main part I mentioned the total value from 202% to 216. Okay, in the ICT industry, polarization has increased in both regular and temporary workers. You know, the right side of this table, full-time job and part-time job, we analyzed. So the total value, full-time job and part-time job, the index is increased. So we can conclude the ICT industry polarization has increased in both regular and temporary workers. Next is wage and working time gap by industry status. Because of the time limitation, I will explain the important part. ICT service industry worker receives more wages per unit hour than the manufacturing industry. However, ICT service industry worker, the longevity is very short. Next slide pages, we can check out the results. Okay, the ICT service industry and non-ICT service industry and ICT manufacturing industry. In addition, non-ICT manufacturing industries, we analyzed the number of employees. Very small company, including one member or several members or over 100 members or many main categories and the middle classes and the small classes. For example, main category is employment conditions, including two middle classes, working hours, and trend. This figure 1 shows ICT service industry and ICT manufacturing by 6 years ago to 2 years ago by industry segment. The gap between ICT service industry and the ICT manufacturing employment, which was nearly 9% below 6 years ago, showed a slight disparity in 2 years ago. Okay, the next table is data for evaluating employment quality of Korean companies. There are many main categories and the middle classes and the small classes. For example, main category is employment conditions, including two middle classes, working hours, and employment scale. This is a wage variation from 6 years ago to 2 years ago. The monthly total wage trend for more than one person in the industry has been increased by about 500,000 won, and the details are included in the paper. Working hours, the total working hours of more than one person in the industry decreased by 5 years in 2 years ago compared to 6 years ago. And next is involuntary retirement rate. To estimate the retirement rate for manufacturing and the service industries in the ICT industry, we compared the number of unemployment benefits in between 2 years. The employment situation in the mid-sized firms is worsening. There are different results, and the involuntary retirement rate of small firms was decreased in contrast to of our common sense. And the involuntary retirement rate of all firms with more than 70 employees was increased. The employment situation is worse over the 5-year period. Tenure, we can focusly see this art. Most of the ICT workers worked for less than 10 years in one job. Okay, the final section is implications. 4 implications and related policies. Number 1 is strengthening ICT service industry. ICT service industry's turnover rate showed the highest turnover rate of ICT service industry in 6 years ago, but the lowest turnover rate in 2 years. In other respects, the quality of employment in ICT services has declined across firms of all sizes. The involuntary unemployment rate is higher than other industries. Second implication is establishing a lifelong career base that can grow as an expert. The problem is that it is the time for workers to retire after entering the labor market, especially ICT service industry. The longevity is very short. Third implication, follow-up investigation of ICT worker career movement. There is an urgent need for follow-up studies on the labor movement in the labor market. And the fourth implication is vocational vision and social respect for ICT. In addition, further study we will conduct about qualitative research and case studies among several various companies, and differences analysis among groups, including statistical analysis. Okay, thank you for listening.